listening to the Cinema Condition. This is your host, Raul Alejandro Mendoza, or as I allow you guys to call me, or I prefer you guys to call me, the Nerdy Chicano. I am a filmmaker and a host and creator of the Nerdcore Podcast Network that this show is a part of. And today we have ourselves a wonderful guest, and her name is Rachel Sweetland. Rachel is a friend of mine, also a member of the film club here at the university that we attend. I am not going to give out that information because I don't do that, except for people who give out their information. You know, I had somebody else here last time who just blurted it out, and I was like, oh, well, that's great. I try to keep you guys secret so you guys don't get in trouble. But yeah, we're going to be discussing the film Interview with the Vampire from Neil Jordan from 1994. How are you doing today, Rachel?
I'm all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Coming off some melatonin.
Yeah?
It was one of those nights, and then
Yeah. Dude, so this is not the first time you've ever done stuff like this. You did a nice show called Shasta Goes to the Movies here at Cook Radio.
It was on our own.
Yeah, it was on your own?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, Shasta Goes to the Movies was fun. I listened to it.
Yeah, I kind of miss doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's why you decided to say yes to coming to this whole hole.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because it's gonna. And I love how you just agree. And this is a hellhole. I don't know if you listened to past episodes, but yeah, we're past the 5-episode mark, so you guys have achievement unlocked something. It's called, these episodes are going to be weekly because I have a lot of them in the bag now that I can upload weekly. So sorry guys if you guys are liking the bi-weekly schedule, but not anymore since I have episodes I can actually upload from episode to episode now. I can actually put them up for weekly. But Rachel, you chose the movie Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
And look, I like to get to know my guests before I actually start these things. So, Rachel, you're a cinephile yourself, right?
Yes.
Yes. We're part of the film club at the university we attend. Why'd you want to pick Interview with the Vampire?
Okay, so in our group chat, I'm sure you've noticed I talk a lot about cursed films, like bad movies that I love. I'm a huge quote unquote fan of Cats. I know it's a terrible movie, it's not good, but something draws me to it. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people. Yesterday I was talking about The Internship. I have these bad movies that I just cling to. I saw it on your show.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so
yeah, it's right there.
Interview with the Vampires is one of them easily. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the B movie.
Yeah, this is the first time watching this movie ever.
It's something.
Yeah, I can't wait to have you back because at this rate, I'm gonna be watching a lot of bad movies I would not find myself watching. But yeah, The Internship, I don't consider that a bad movie. I think it's actually a pretty fun movie. I like it a lot. It's funny as hell.
Commercially, it's bad.
Oh yeah, of course. But I thought it was fun. I love
it's
funny.
I think it goes mostly to Vince Vaughn because he co-wrote it, but like the script writing, like the joke writing, is so well like written for their characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that movie. That's the reason why I have it in my collection. I love watching that movie. It's so much fun. But yeah, I don't have the pleasure of knowing Rachel as much as my past guests have, but I'm not a stranger to having people I literally only know like a couple of hours on the show. So I'm glad to have you on with me.
Thank you.
And I can't wait
having me.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. You know, whoever, like you took the one spot out of the 29 in here that people were fighting for, right? You know, so I've got you here on season 1. So hopefully you'll come back for season 2 when the opportunity presents itself. But I'm really excited to have you on, and we're gonna go ahead and get into this wonderful movie, Interview with the Vampire, 1994. But before we can get into the movie, I got to talk to you all about the director, Neil Jordan. Neil Jordan was born February 25th in 1950. Don't ask me what age that would be because I don't have it at the top of my head. Math it
60 something.
60 something? Okay.
70.
70 something. Okay.
No, 70 this year.
Yeah. All right. So
anyways.
Yeah. There's a reason why I'm a media production major. I don't do math. I'm sorry. Academy Award winning screenwriter for 1992's The Crying Game. He also started his career in 1982 with Angel, but you know he's a novelist, he's a filmmaker, he's a screenwriter, director, play director as well. And his biggest hits were actually, Michael Collins in 1996, and I just put in this one along with I put that one along with an interview with a vampire in there as his hits. His recent film was Greta in 2018 that he directed, the one with Isabelle Huppert and Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah, Moretz. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Isabelle Huppert. I love her. She's amazing, but I did not watch that movie.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah, I heard bad things about it.
No.
yeah. What, you don't like Chloe Grace Moretz, or you don't like
She's not
Isabelle
that great of
Huppert?
an actress.
I really can't, give an opinion since I've only watched The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which she was really good in. But other than that, I haven't watched anything. But as with Isabelle Huppert, I love her. She's amazing. Oh, I love my French actresses. She's really, really good actress. As you can tell, this is going to be happening a lot. I'm going to be taking sips of water because my mouth gets incredibly dry with this. So, the film was directed by Neil Jordan, but it was written by Anna Rice, who is the author
of the novel.
Of the novel itself too. So you chose this movie because you're a big fan of the terrible movies, but I'm actually somebody who's interested in vampire flicks a lot.
Well, yeah, I like those.
Yeah.
Like the baseline of it is that I'm attracted to bad movies.
Yeah,
but also
yeah.
I do thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, so I don't know if I explained, because I'm terrible at explaining these things to people. I forgot to explain to you this show probably. This isn't a review show.
Okay.
We're not here to talk about if we like the movie. We're here to talk about the themes of the movie. We're here to really dissect the film itself. So I have a couple of things that I want to pinpoint here that I found were themes of the film. But this was your first time. This was your second time watching or third time?
I have no idea. I've seen it quite a lot.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, that's a young Brad Pitt in here. That's for sure.
Very young Brad Pitt.
Yeah, very young Tom Cruise too.
Who I realized earlier today in one of my classes, we watched Bonnie and Clyde from 1967. I realized Brad Pitt looks a lot like a young Warren Beatty.
Oh, really?
Sounds like him too. I realized that today. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, I did not know. Wow, dude, that's gonna be stuck in my head all day. Yeah.
Have you seen Bonnie and Clyde?
Mm-hmm.
Like just
it's processing through my head right now, and I'm not liking that. Okay, so we'll move on from that. Yeah, so what's it called? This movie is about a vampire who turns another person into a vampire against their will, basically.
Yeah.
And that vampire is being interviewed, and he's basically recounting his life and really everything that's gone through it. And it's really interesting. A lot of interesting themes are here. I find a lot of themes of eroticism, especially narcissism, moral ambiguity, existentialism, and I really enjoyed the movie for those factors. Not everything else, but we're not here to review this movie. I had to really go into my knowledge of vampire flicks to remember that vampires are fucking sexy, terribly sexy. Like it is so. I messaged you. I said, God, this is such a fucking erotic undertones in this fucking movie. There's so many erotic undertones in here. What is your take on that?
I don't know. It's something. It's hard.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I don't really know if it's like the eroticism that draws me.
No, it's not. That's the eroticism isn't drawing me. I'm just saying that this is like something that I saw come up. By the way,
it's
also,
very much prevalent.
Yeah, it's funny because I was reading throughout the page, and it says like, oh, they removed all the homoerotic stuff. I was like,
it's
what the
very
fuck
homoerotic.
No.
It's very no. I mean, I haven't read the novel. Maybe the novel gets more into that than the film does, which wouldn't surprise me. But it's still there.
It's very much there. It's Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise are really just like pretty much. They just need to take their clothes off and just start. Right there. By the way, if the themes are uncomfortable and stuff, I could just get past them. But if you don't want me to talk about that stuff, don't worry about it. Yeah, it's really interesting because just the way that they bite so sensually into the neck, or they suck the blood out, You know, the screams are very much turning into moans in a way. It's there's this very weird type of erotic, sensual kind of characteristics of vampires.
But also like a combination of a little bit, not, I wouldn't say like a little bit horrific when like more so the scenes with Kirsten Dunst, because they're not going to make that seem more erotic.
No, of course
she's a child.
not. Of course not. Yeah. Which
also gives me a little bit of a sense of like a Electra complex, if you think about it, because throughout the film she's very much gravitating towards I can't remember which one was it. She was gravitating towards either Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt more
so Brad Pitt.
I think. Yeah,
but
because he turned her, I think.
Yeah, well, because she at first she finds that lady who's like, oh, I want to look like her, and you know, just very like drawing to her, but she really wants to understand who she is in a way.
Yeah,
it's really interesting because you know this little girl who doesn't really understand it yet that you know she's basically immortal and she's never gonna fucking die. She's never gonna look like that because she can't age.
She's immortally a child.
So she's drawn to this body of a well-developed woman, and she's drawn to wanting that body, but also kind of having to what's called understand existence in a way as well.
Yeah.
And she's drawn to basically the most moral ambiguous person in this movie, Brad Pitt's character, who is basically going through a crisis all the fucking movie. Like, I don't want to kill people, but I have to eat and I have to survive, but I also just want to fucking die already, and I can't die because I'm immortal. It's like it's there's some really, really interesting themes going throughout this whole movie.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
It's
kind of hard to talk about at times.
Why?
This film, just because there's so much.
Yeah, it's
so erotic. But also like, and then in the other sense, there's the theme. Not even a theme. It's very prevalent that it's like his character, when it starts out, he's a slave owner.
Exactly.
And so it's like weird having that in the background. It's like, here's this, the foreground is the story of this vampire, whatever, who's having a crisis in the whole time, and in the background you like see his slaves and you're like, oh dude, what?
Yeah, exactly. And you really, well, I think that's the moral ambiguity of it all, right? You know, you have this guy who's a slave owner who is also in a way creating slaves as well by turning people into vampires against their will, and you know, making these people, you know, have to live without having to die, and basically making them in a sense, making them a slave to existing. It's really interesting. Throughout this whole film, I really kind of tackled, like, because when us as kids, when we find out about the whole immortality, it's really interesting. You're like, oh wow, I get to live forever. You know, I don't have to ever die and stuff. And I think it's a very attractive thing at the time, and then you realize as you get older, God, living forever, watching everybody die around you, and you're kind of left with the burden of never being able to die. Yeah.
Also, I just learned, looking through the Wikipedia page, there was a sequel novel called Queen of the Damned, starring Aaliyah.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That definitely did not get into works.
I was like, what is this? I click on it and I see Aaliyah, and I'm like, oh girl.
My.
I mean, rest in peace.
No, rest in peace, Aaliyah, for sure. Rest in peace.
Oh God.
That brings up, that's sad. That's really, yeah. Wow, how do we move past that? That's really hard to move past.
It's Tom Cruise's character, but he's not in it.
Well, Cruise and Brad Pitt didn't want to come back for it, right?
Yeah, it's Stuart Townsend.
Yeah. By the way, you know, I do like to put in little instances of review here. I really enjoyed child Kirsten Dunst in this film. She's amazing.
I mean, in my opinion, her acting abilities have kind of declined through the years, but as a kid, she killed it.
As a kid, she's like I said, we're not really here to debate these things, even though I would definitely like to talk to you off air about that. But I'm sorry. But yeah, it's so this movie is, like you were saying, you know, it's a lot. I was saying about really existing and everything, and it was really interesting seeing, you know, just Brad Pitt just kind of like just sulking and mourning himself, and just that idea of, you know, existing only to turn people into vampires or just keep consuming blood to make sure you stay alive
Yeah.
while not wanting to hurt other humans. It really makes for an interesting character.
Yeah. It's just making me think of Twilight. Because I'm trying to find, I know there was a character in there who was like that as well.
I do not remember Twilight at all, and I'm glad I don't.
I hate that I remember it. I haven't watched it in a solid 5 years.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well,
Yikes.
any thoughts on that? The whole exists?
I don't know. I can understand it in a way. It's like if I was in that situation, I'd be like, I don't want to do this, but I have to, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
You don't know.
I just have this sense of understanding with it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least as well too. By the way, those scenes are just so brutal. They're very sensual and erotic too, but they're very brutal. Like just like grabbing into the wrist and and you see the blood like all splatter around their mouth. It's like
it's slightly gory.
It's slightly very gory.
There's a scene of the plague. Like they don't. It's.
By the way, I believe the Wikipedia page said that they got a $70 million budget for this film, which was really, really surprising for a vampire film at the time to get a budget that big. So they were
$60 million.
60, a little 10 million.
That's still very high.
Yeah, that's really high, especially for 94.
It doesn't look like it would be that.
No, not today. Not for today's
It
standards.
does not look like it would be. Even just watching it, you're like, that's $60 million.
Yeah, really makes you.
But maybe because it's a time period, like a period film.
Yeah, it's also 94.
Yeah.
60 mil back then equals what? Less than 2 mil today. Even though Get Out was made for like 2 mil.
Yeah.
And that looks way better than this. It's probably just goes into the whole period aspect of it, which. It's
expensive getting those costumes. And
yeah. The costuming is incredible too.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I was joking earlier about the Hamilton thing because I don't know if you've ever seen me do this. I did this for a while. I'm very into Philip Hamilton. Don't ask me why, but I'm very attracted to those kinds of like 1700s, 1800s like style things. So that's probably another reason I'm attracted to this film.
Yeah.
I love that like period of like I guess fashion, really.
Yeah. Well, there comes a very much sense of class to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you see in this movie too,
There's a lot of class.
There's a lot of class versus, very ugly underbelly of New Orleans being in there. Like, some people just dress like terribly, during the plague and stuff, and while you have these rich vampires sucking on the blood of everybody who are dressed like, beautiful white dudes from the 1700s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also have no idea I've never watched Hamilton. So.
I haven't seen it. I've only heard it.
Oh, okay. I've never heard it at all either. Yeah. I'm not.
The Philip Hamilton thing isn't even exactly. It's kind of from the musical because that's my favorite song from the musical is like his song about him dying. Not really a spoiler alert 'cause it's history.
Yeah.
But obviously he died. I mean, it's been like 200 years. But there's like this is gonna tell so much about me. It's the stupidest thing ever. There's one sketch of him that exists.
Yeah.
Ever of Philip Hamilton.
Yeah.
One sketch, not even a picture, a sketch. And for some reason, it gets me.
All right, but I mean, if you look like Philip Hamilton, talk to Rachel over here. But it's I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll show you.
Let's see this.
That's the only image of him that exists is this one sketch.
What the fuck? Why does he look like Elvis?
That his nephew did after the fact, because like. He was the oldest, so like obviously none of his siblings had kids at that point because he was 19. So the fact that there's a sketch that was drawn, like, okay, never mind. Right. Either way, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of looks like Elvis in a way too. But going back to this movie here, but you bring up a really good point with the whole idea of like just these classy vampires and how they're supposed to look, and you go to the you see those scenes where they're at those parties, very elegant,
Yeah.
beautiful. You know, the women are dressed in like the finest of clothes.
Very rich.
Very rich. Well, when you step outside, where the the modern day, where the what's it called, the normal people are, the lower class people,
Yeah.
and they're dressed very ugly, very 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 dirty.
I'm trying to think of the term because I know a lot of the film was set in France.
Yeah.
So there's terms for that, but like the different classes. But
The
bourgeoisie.
no, the bourgeoisie. No, I think you what's it called,
I don't know.
the clergy. Is it the clergy?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
All right, look it up while I'm trying to crack my head here. Yeah, I want to say it's the clergy, but I may be wrong here. And yeah, I'm giving you time to go and look that up. Well, look,
Bourgeois means
the bourgeois.
town dweller,
Yeah,
and then bourgeoisie is the social class with economic. So the rich people is the
Yeah,
bourgeoisie.
the
The lower class
bourgeoisie.
would be the bourgeois.
the bourgeois. Yeah, and then you would say the town. So the town dwellers are the bourgeois. So yeah, and you see that separation there, and it's very much what's it called? It's reminding me, were there ever really poor vampires? Did these movies ever really talk about poor vampires? Not really.
No. I
No.
feel like they should though. I doubt because once it happens, if you have anything around you have to let it go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna get found out. You can't
Mhm.
have people around you knowing that you're a vampire, so you kind of
Mhm.
gotta drop everything. So the fact that they have that wealth and somehow are still
Yeah.
accumulating it
Yeah.
after all these years doesn't make sense.
Kind of goes hand in hand with the sense of guilt too
Yeah.
that Brad Pitt's character feels.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm just going back to the one thing I know very well, existentialism. Just him feeling guilty that he's, just not just hurting people, but he's also just cannot die.
Yeah.
And because of him, that one time that he fought into his urges, he turned a little girl into a vampire, and now he has passed his burden onto her too.
Yeah.
And she-
but also he created a fucking monster.
Pretty much, yeah. And she dies in like a really brutal way, by the way. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Just the sun bearing down on her. And just,
Was it? Did they explain why children can't be shouldn't be? No, that was Twilight. I keep a lot of my knowledge.
you
of
wanna
vampires comes
do
from
Twilight.
no, I don't want to do
if
Twilight.
you,
I'm just saying, there's a bit in one of the films where they're like, oh no, babies can't be vampires,
Yeah.
and there's like a flashback to a baby just fucking demolishing a city.
Yeah. Because if you think about it,
They're gonna give into those urges.
children have no morals. They don't
Yeah.
know right or wrong yet. So this child
They're like,
is
I'm
just
hungry. I'm gonna go kill something.
gonna go kill something. And what am I supposed to do with the corpse? I'm just gonna leave it there so then my two dads can come find the room and they're getting mad at me because I have a dead corpse in the room. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
Yeah. They don't know any better.
They don't know any better. It makes her an interesting thing because even though she stays in the body of a child,
Yeah.
she also kind of stays in the mindset of a child.
Yeah.
And she can't move past that. So she's kind of stuck being this bloodlusty creature who, just keeps on killing and killing and killing and killing. And she doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
That's who she is. Yeah.
But then you also have like the conflict between like Brad Pitt, who's like, okay, we should teach her not to do this, teach her be better, and then Tom Cruise is like, no, fuck that, we're gonna give her everything she
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah, so Tom Cruise's character is really interesting in this movie too because that's saying a lot for somebody who doesn't like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like his character is really interesting. He's just kind of like, why do we need why do we need to parent this kid?
Yeah.
Like it's not even my kid.
But he babies her.
He babies her in the same sense. He babies her, and he doesn't want her to turn out like Brad Pitt, even though she's kind of more like Tom Cruise in this
Yeah.
movie than she is than Brad Pitt. Even though she's more drawn to Brad Pitt,
Yeah.
which makes for an interesting clash when Tom Cruise dies because he doesn't really die. He still shows up at the end with the.
That whole bit is weird.
Yeah, there's a certain point in this movie where the movie kind of loses itself.
Yeah.
Before they go to the mansion where the naked lady is in and
You're
everything.
just like chilling, you're watching it, and then Tom, like fucking half dead Tom Cruise is just in a convertible.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's like half of the movie is really fucking good, And then after that, they're like, well, what we had going on before, what? Yeah, turn that out of the fucking window. Let's have a fucking church of German vampires and like have a woman stripped down and just have her fucking, suck the blood right out of her fucking body. It's weird. That last half is really what I don't want to, cover. I don't really know what's going on here. Some weird Eyes Wide Shut type of shit was going on in there, but it's interesting because that kid is it's more like Tom Cruise, and it's like I understand why Tom Cruise is kind of frustrated with her because maybe it's hard for his character to really see himself painted that way too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kid dies really terribly, along with the lady she was trying to make into a vampire too.
It was with that lady.
Oh. Yeah, they just dump her and then like have the sun just beat down on her and just like absolutely burn the skin off and everything.
Yeah. Who was that character? Were they German or were they Spanish?
They were German. Well, I don't know. I want to say German because of the I heard the fuck. I don't know how to do the accent right now. But yeah,
I heard his name is Armand.
Armand? Yeah. Well, I heard a German accent out of one of them, but I know the lady was Spanish.
I don't know. Either way, I don't know. I think it went to show like that different, like I guess covens, not covens, covens switches. But like different, I guess like clans, squads of vampires have their own ways. Squad.
Yeah. Squad. Vampire squad. Vampire.
They do like the Instagram thing that everyone was doing in 2014. So like squad.
Squad. Yeah. Fucking.
With the prayer hands.
Yeah. Hearts out. Yeah.
But they have their own like I guess kind of medieval ways of taking care of things.
Yeah.
Because that squad was very like almost medieval in the way that they handled things with the whole like secret thing going on inside that theater where they're putting on shows for just the everyday people, but like as soon as the doors close they're like doing their vampire shit, and then they got that weird tunnel like thing to kill people in,
and then if somebody even gives into the urges they fucking lock them up and kill them too. Like I was like, why are you guys locking up fucking Brad Pitt? You're doing the same shit, but once again I guess it's just kind of a hierarchy, a sense of like we do this behind closed doors. We don't do this when everybody's watching. Yeah. Kind of sense of hiding what you are, whereas
hiding in plain sight.
Hiding in plain sight, while the kid is really just like, I'm a fucking vampire. I'm gonna fucking bite you. I'm gonna suck your blood. Yeah. Which is fucking weird. Like it's why you shouldn't turn kids into vampires, man. Yeah. It's why you shouldn't turn them into vampires. All right.
I mean, primarily for the reason of them having no morals.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry. I'm checking the time because I have to call for a commercial break, and but for sure, there's no morals to them. There's just they're just kids.
Yeah.
They're
not gonna understand.
Yeah, they're egocentric. They want the attention all to themselves. When they want something, they want it so bad that they're gonna want to get it. And so, what's she gonna do? She's like, okay, I want that body. Well, I'm gonna go fucking kill her, and I'm gonna see if I can find a way to make the body mine. I want to eat. I'm gonna fucking eat. Yeah. This unlike the adults who over here, Brad Pitt is just like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm gonna eat rats, and I was like, dude, this is a plague, bro. You shouldn't be eating rats. But
I guess he can't catch it. So
yeah, he can't catch it. Which I think I read that more as him wanting to find a way, like finding just a certain way to die, but he can't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
he's like, maybe if I eat enough of these rats.
Maybe it's one of those things where they adapted it so badly that it's like you gotta read the novel more to understand the context behind some of the things that they do in the film, because like in film they can't really give you every answer under like the 2-hour span that a book could give you in like 400 pages.
Well, I'm pretty sure in the books they were more blatant with the eroticism because there's those other vampire flicks where they were to bite into them, it's like the blood in the girl's cum right there, just right off the bat. And whereas here it's like more kind of implied that they're orgasming, whereas those other movies just like plain sight right there, just girls fucking coming from getting bit by a vampire. Yeah. So It's God, I don't know why that reminds me of Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems. Yeah.
Oh no.
No. Okay. So yeah, it's yeah. I think it's a good place to cut a commercial break. So when you guys come back, we're gonna finish up our wrap up our conversation on Interview with the Vampire from 1994. But listen to these wonderful commercials about the other shows on the Nerdcore Podcast Network. Guys, we'll be back. Hey, I'm Raul Alejandro Mendoza, and this is
Jabril Newton.
and we are the hosts of High Flyer Radio. And finally, pro wrestling has come back to the Nerdcore podcast feed in the form of a show hosted by Jabril and I. And we talk about everything and anything in the pro wrestling world on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Nothing's off limits. Whatever you guys want to talk about, if it's from AEW to SmackDown to Raw to NXT, nothing's off the table. We can talk about it.
We're going to talk all about it. And if you can get it a day early, you should go to the www.patreon.com/thenerdcore and pledge to the tiers on there so you can get this show and a lot of shows days early before anybody else gets to hear it. But enough talking about it. We'll go ahead and see you there at the Squared Circle. Oh, yeah. Don't tap out. Tune in.
Tune in.
Hey guys, this is Brad, aka Young Yoda. Raul said I had to make an ad, so that's what I'm doing. It's supposed to be for Unstructured, but as you guys know, you can freaking catch me everywhere when it comes to this podcast feed. You can find me on the Nerd Cores, on Gamer Cores, on Nerdy Chicanos sometimes when I get lost. But for this particular one, I want you guys to go check out Unstructured. The Raul gave me free reign to do whatever I want to do. I don't know what he was thinking. So go hear me talk about LeBron James and Taco Tuesday, vaping, so many other freaking weird topics that chimichangas, that's a good one. Shout out to Deadpool. And yeah, I guess this is the end of the ad. So if you guys want to find me, you can find me all over the place on this podcast feed. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I love you all. And nerd up.
Hello, 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 guys and gals, and you're listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore. I am your host, Daniela Nunez, and along with my amazing co-host, Ashley Garcia, we discuss many things like social impact, pop culture, political realms, and any controversy surrounding the Nerdverse. Tune in and listen to us bi-weekly on the Nerdcore podcast feed, and we will love to chat and hear your thoughts on our wonderful show. And thank you again for listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore.
Hey everyone, my name is Raul, the Nerdy Chicano, and I am the host of The Impaired Files. The Impaired Files is an interview show brought to you every Thursday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. And I interview people such as filmmakers, content creators on YouTube, and podcasters like Colton Geschwander. And if you want to listen to that early, a whole week early, all you got to do is go to the Patreon and pledge to the $1 tier. And if you want to listen to it with the general public, then go to Nerdcore podcast feed on anchor.fm/the Nerdcore. And the case is closed, but it's not classified. See you guys there. Thank you. And we're back. Thank you for listening to those wonderful commercial breaks filmed by all the other members of the podcast network. Make sure you guys follow them and listen to their respected shows. Hopefully we'll have a commercial for this show soon. Well, we play that during the live streams that we do. But, I got to bust out the camera back out again and everything. But we're back. We're talking about Neil Jordan's The Interview with the Vampire, 1994, here at the Cinema Condition. I have some other stuff in here that I wanted to, I have some last themes in here that I wanted to hit before we kind of say goodbye. I have the idea. I have the topic of loss and narcissism in here. Loss because that girl, she's kind of mourning the loss of a mother she doesn't really remember all that well.
Yeah.
Which makes for some really interesting conversation when we talk about the grieving process with vampires, because in a sense they're grieving their past life as well that they used to have. Now they've been transformed, but also they're kind of grieving a life that really they didn't know that well.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah. No, it's definitely there. I guess it starts out of like, oh, my life is over. And so they're grieving that, and then over time, so much time passes, they kind of lose sense of what that life was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because so much time passes, you forget things, you don't remember exactly how things were, and so then eventually your memories of something get clouded.
Yeah.
So it's a grief so it starts out as a grief of like, oh, my life is over, and as time passes, it's a grief of what they think their life was.
Yeah. Kind of in a sense fixation over what they wanted their life to kind of be, but what it actually was, and
Yeah.
knowing that your mother died in the plague and you were just there on the streets just holding her hand and wishing that she'd come back, but she's dead because she fucking died from the plague. And the only other choice that this guy had to do, because he was hungry, was bite you, turn you into the vampire. And now you're here stuck mourning the loss of a mother that you possibly had.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I think us as humans, where we approach grieving very differently. We know what happened.
Yeah.
And it takes longer to grieve it. Whereas this girl, for a moment, she remembers, and she's like, I had a mother. What am I doing here? My life is over. What the hell is what I had a life. Whereas us, mortals, we're just, it's more of a elapsed pain, more like it's continuous throughout time. It's something that I, especially after watching The Farewell, it's something that I kind of remember, kind of talk to myself about, because I lost my grandmother last year. Yeah, and I kind of came to the conclusion we never really do stop grieving.
Yeah.
We never do. It's even if people want to say, oh, at one point you're gonna kind of forget.
Yeah.
You never do. It's
No.
there. It's constantly there in your brain.
Especially like given our like society that's like so fixated on like anniversaries.
Exactly. Which is a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Can be a very beautiful thing, but it also is a very painful thing when you haven't really mourned the way you're supposed to mourn.
Yeah.
But it's also very very different cultural thing because I'm Mexican. The way we mourn is very different from the way Americans or
The way I
white,
would.
yeah,
the way
white folk,
people would.
white folk.
Yeah.
What's it called? Mourn. It's very different. But I like how they bring that up here with Kristen Dunst's character. She's very much like I think she's more mourning the life that she had, the life that was taken away from her.
Yeah.
Really, that chance to be mortal and be able to die later, while now she's a vampire, and she's like, I barely remember who my mom was. And I think in a sense she's kind of saying that she would have rather had stayed immortal and mourned the loss of her mother than to be turned a vampire and not remember anything about her,
Yeah.
not even the way she looked.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
No, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like you'd rather be alive to remember something than be immortal and then just over time forget that you even had something.
Yeah.
Because then all you know is what you are now.
Yeah. And I guess that can lead into a very interesting conversation when we talk about the narcissism in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you get obsessed with that, who you are, you get basically Tom Cruise's character,
Yeah.
who
Isn't convinced that he's bad.
isn't convinced that he's bad and wants to project himself onto others. Like, you're a killer just like me.
Yeah.
Be me. I'm this picture perfect
I'm
vampire.
so good. I'm so good.
Yeah.
I'm good to you. I gave you this like this great life.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't give you a choice, though. I gave it to you because this is the life that you should have.
I gave you a second chance.
A
Like
second
that kind
chance.
Of shit.
You will never know death. You will never know sickness. You will never know pain. All you will know is just living forever, and you should be eternally grateful for the gift I've given you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A god complex.
The God complex, basically. Yeah, 100%. It is the God complex, and it's really interesting when you bring it up to Tom Cruise. But it's and he does not want to let go of it. He wants everything to go his way, everything to be just like him, which.
But that's why it's like kind of ironic that he's still like chasing after Brad Pitt. Like Brad Pitt cannot escape him whatsoever.
Yeah, which in a sense,
even in the end, like he has his couple of hours where he's talking to Christian Slater, giving him his interview, and then still at the end there's Tom Cruise.
Yeah, there's like as much as you as you try to outrun it. I guess at one point you have to face your creator, which is really interesting in the sense that there's kind of like religious themes in this film as well. in the end, whether you are or not religious, you know, at one point you will meet your maker.
Yeah.
You know, if you're religious, you will meet your maker, and you will confront your mortality.
Yeah.
And you know, as much as he wants to outrun it, Tom Cruise is gonna be there, whether he lives in your brain, whether he lives in your brain or he is right in front of you. That's
right when
really,
you think you escaped him.
right when you think you escaped him.
There's
he's
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, right? You know, it's like to this year, just when you thought you were gonna see enough of Tom Cruise, comes out with the fucking Top Gun Maverick. So yeah, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Tom Cruise. The only Tom Cruise movie I like is Eyes Wide Shut, and that's it. But that's because it's Kubrick.
This one is the only one I like.
This is the only one you like?
This is the only one I like.
Yeah, I tolerate him in this one, but I can't say I like this movie. But his character is interesting. He's not a really interesting actor in this movie. The only one I like is Eyes Wide Shut, and that's because, you know, it's Kubrick basically taking control of Tom Cruise. It's not Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise in the movie.
Yeah, I read yesterday he had so many like demands for the Mummy that it basically gave him a lot of creative control, and that's one of the many reasons it sucked.
Yeah, I should have just put directed by Tom Cruise, right? At that point, you really should.
Yeah, at the end of it, because he had so many demands, he had more screen time than the actual Mummy itself, and it was basically just another one of his blockbuster action movies.
Yeah. Oh, the Mummy and the Curse of the Dark Universe never became. That's a conversation for another day, Rachel. But yeah. So that's I guess I wanted to bring up Tom Cruise because in a sense he's also the very ugly part about humans as well.
Yeah.
You know, there's that very ugliness to humans. We're very fucked up creatures. You know, we obsess over ourselves sometimes too. I mean, there's a reason why every day we wake up and we try to make sure that we are looking as presentable as possible to make sure that we're up to our standard of code of how to look.
Yeah.
And it's
so like there's the people who are definitely narcissists. There are narcissists in the world, but like at the end of it, when it boils down, we are all to an extent narcissistic.
Yeah, we basically are. I mean, that's the reason why I subject all of you to an hour or 2 hours of my voice, because I want you to hear my voice. I want you to hear how beautiful it sounds. Yeah. And I guess that's why Rachel came on the show too, because she wants you to hear her voice too. But yeah, to an extent, we are all a little bit of narcissists. So it makes for an interesting kind of double entendre with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise kind of making for like two different sides of the human spectrum and the human condition in a sense. You have a guy.
Which also says a lot about Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in real life.
Yeah, probably.
My humble king, Brad Pitt.
While we have Tom Cruise, who wants to make sure the camera makes him look tall because he can't come to terms with the fact that you're short.
Oh, God.
You see my height, Tom? I'm fucking 5'0", flat, right there. Right on 5'0". I ain't making the camera make me look tall.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I remember when I read about that, I was like, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. Or make him wanting to do his own stunts. Like, you know how many freaking stunt
the
people?
Airplane thing? Oh, nobody would stop talking about that. And I was like, you know, you did that just so people would talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like I say, there's those little things that make us humans just a little bit, tad bit narcissists in a way as well.
Yeah.
And it really does reflect on the character in this movie who really kind of, as much, I guess he just really wants, he kind of sees that he's failed with his own project, the Brad Pitt's character, that he'll just want to haunt him for the rest of his life. And then finally at the end, he decides to give him the choice of like, Brad Pitt gives the choice to the other guy of like whether you want to become a vampire or not. Because Christian Slater's like, well, you know, why don't you just make me the vampire? Just make me one already. So it really kind of the tables are turned in a sense, and really, you know, finally somebody gets a choice in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else we got to bring up here before we leave?
Not really.
Yeah. I don't think this hit the 1 hour mark, but it's okay, guys.
There's not a whole lot to
this. Really isn't a big movie to unpack. Like, it's really hard for me to talk about this.
It's hard to understand this movie.
It's because it's hard to understand because it's not well made. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like I said, if this would have been just a review,
I could have gone off.
I
could have gone off.
Yeah. Which kind of makes you realize you picked the wrong movie for this show, didn't you?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's fine.
it's okay. Rachel, we're here at the end, and we're gonna do good old recommend and call dibs.
All right.
Which film would you recommend to the wonderful listeners of the Cinema Condition?
1967's In the Heat of the Night.
In the Heat of the Night.
Yes, I watched recently in a class and chef's kiss.
By the way, I saw you watch the quiz show.
Yeah.
Fucking incredible movie.
I love quiz show. I mean, I love Robert Redford, but like that movie hits different.
Fucking great movie. I love.
Also,
Martin
Quiz Show.
Scorsese in that movie is for like a little tad bit of it, like he's in it, which is really
Love
fun.
quiz show.
I love quiz show. It's a good movie. So in the Heat of the Night, 1967, you all go and watch it. Now, the moment of truth, Rachel.
Okay.
You're in the sweet spot here. Season 2, when you come back, this is the first movie you're going to do. You're calling dibs on this one. Nobody else can do it.
This one definitely has more to talk about. There's more more substance. Honey Boy. Unless somebody else already
No,
did.
nobody's called
Okay.
it, but can you give me a high five here? That was my number 3 last year. That's a movie
It
that
was my number 3.
wow, Rachel, damn.
I got
Yeah.
a sticker. This movie made me fall in love with Shia LaBeouf again.
This movie made me cry like a motherfucker.
Oh,
a
God.
lot.
I cannot wait for it to be on Prime.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy the Blu-ray for that one because I really, that's gonna be an yeah. You know
Yeah.
what? Can season 2 start tomorrow? Because I really want to talk about this movie with somebody else. Yeah, that one's a gut punch.
I
It's a gut
cannot
punch.
wait to watch it again.
For those of you who don't know where Honey Boy can be found, it's gonna be on Prime.
I think
in, like,
this
next
week.
This week, yeah.
I think this week.
Also, very much an incredible film directed by Alma Arel, what's called Israeli filmmaker. So she is incredible. Please watch this movie because she did an incredible job with the directing in this film, and also Shia LaBeouf's intimate script is just amazingly written.
Yes.
And Shia does a performance that I think should have been nominated, and it's a damn shame it was not nominated.
His script should have been nominated.
100%.
I was so pissed off.
That movie is like perfect to me. It's amazing. It's
You let a man just wreck himself in rehab to write that screenplay.
Yeah.
So the semi-autobiographical screenplay that's just perfect and you don't acknowledge it.
Yeah,
Like-
it's a movie that when I got out of it and I wrote my review for it, I said this is a movie that I feel I shouldn't be watching because it's such an intimate, but I feel very thankful to be watching it. And it's very reflective of how brave Shia is to kind of open his life to what it was and what led him there. So season 2, she'll be back to do that for sure. There's no way I let you move. But for sure, it's going to be happening, my friends, and we'll be back for that. With that being said, it's been a wonderful time here at Cinema Condition. Rachel, if you want, you can tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
Well, I mainly just primarily use Twitter to tweet my ramblings. You can follow me at Spider Beach. That's Spider BEACH.
That's amazing.
And I don't post much, but you can find me on TikTok.
You do the Renegade to every
I
fucking
do the
movie.
Renegade to every fucking movie. It's at Rachel SROX_.
Help her make those views, guys, please.
Yes,
Rachel
I had a video that popped off last spring, and I have not gotten many views since. So
Yeah.
please get me back on top.
Yeah, feed my ego.
Feed my narcissism.
Yeah,
Make me Tom Cruise.
you don't want to be short on video anymore. It's a good thing we don't do video with this show.
There's a reason I'm renegading the movies. I got no content
Yeah,
because there's nobody there to watch my content.
All right, I was gonna call you All Right Renegade, but no. Rachel, it's been a wonderful time having you here.
Thank you for having me.
And as always, you guys can find me at the Nerdy Chicano on both Instagram and Twitter. That's literally the only where you can find me. You add me on Facebook, and I don't know you, and I've never had a prior conversation. There's a chance that you're not getting accepted because I've had that happen before. And it's like, where am I getting all these fucking requests from? And I'm like, oh, you know what? People are trying to find me, and I'm like, no, if we never had a prior conversation, like Rachel here, Rachel can add me now because
I don't
we've
use
talked.
Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. But somebody else from like fucking Isles of France who has never had a fucking conversation with me, I'm sorry, bud. You are not getting into my Facebook. So you guys can go and check out all the other shows on the Nerdcore Podcast Network, like the Nerdcore, the main show where we're gonna be doing a lot of cool stuff. This is coming out really late into February, so I'm pretty sure we're about to finish Animated Film Month and getting ready for our month in March, which will be Hayao Miyazaki month, which will be a lot of fun. But you can also check out other shows like the ladies of Nerdcore, where the ladies talk about social, aspects of life, and really are the only serious show on this feed where real people talk about real issues. So we're just a bunch of dumbasses talking about movies and stuff. So you go do that stuff. And also the live stream where we, talk a bunch of shit, and we basically just shoot the shit all day, and we talk about shy bladders and stuff like that. So with that being said, it's been a wonderful time, my friends. And I'll catch you in the next one when we talk about 2009's Inglorious Bastards with my wonderful friend, Alejandra Escuti Angulo. With that being said, my friends, I'll see you guys in the next one. Watch a movie.